Have you ever found yourself walking into a room and suddenly forgetting why you went in there in the first place? Or maybe you're trying to recall the name of a movie you watched last month, and it's just gone. You're not alone. As we get older, little lapses like these become more common, and it can be frustrating. But here's something surprising. Sometimes, the key to sharpening your memory and feeling more mentally alive might be as simple as pressing play on a piece of classical music. Now, you might be thinking, really? Music? And I get it, it sounds almost too easy. But there's something deeply powerful about music, especially the kind composed by the likes of Mozart, Bach, or Beethoven. Classical music doesn't just soothe the soul, it can actually wake up your brain. In fact, more and more studies are showing that certain types of music may help boost memory, focus, and even emotional well-being. Something we all need, especially as we age. So, why does classical music have this kind of effect on the brain? And how can you use it in your daily life to feel sharper, calmer, and more connected? That's exactly what we're diving into. Today, we're having a good old-fashioned heart-to-heart about how music, and specifically classical music, might just be one of the best and easiest brain boosters out there. Let's begin with something simple. Think back to a song from your youth, one that brings back memories the moment it plays. Maybe it was playing on the radio during your first date, or perhaps it's the lullaby you used to hum to your children. Just a few notes, and suddenly you're right back there. That's not just nostalgia, it's your brain lighting up. Music reaches parts of the brain that words and logic can't always touch. And classical music, in particular, seems to stimulate the brain in ways that improve memory, mood, and even cognitive performance. Here's one of the reasons why: rhythm and structure. Classical music is known for its patterns, repeating melodies, predictable crescendos, and balanced phrases. Your brain loves patterns. It finds comfort in them. And when you listen to structured music, it engages multiple parts of your brain at once. It's not just your hearing, it's your emotions, your memory, your motor skills, and even your imagination all lighting up at the same time. And here's where it gets really interesting. Studies have shown that when older adults regularly listen to classical music, their brain activity becomes more synchronized and efficient. In simpler terms, it helps the brain tune up, kind of like how you might take your car in for a regular service to keep it running smoothly. Think of classical music as a gentle workout for your mind, one that doesn't require a treadmill or a crossword puzzle. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine, Margaret, just turned 74. She's a retired teacher who loves gardening and reading, but she was starting to feel like her mind wasn't as quick as it used to be. Names would slip away, conversations were harder to follow, and even reading felt like a chore some days. Then, almost by accident, she started playing a classical playlist in the mornings while tending to her plants. Within a few weeks, she noticed a shift. She felt calmer, more focused, and even started picking up new words and ideas again. Was it a miracle? No. But was it music helping her brain? Absolutely. It's not magic, it's science. Classical music often works in the background, helping your brain organize thoughts, recall memories, and reduce the mental noise that builds up throughout the day. It can even help lower stress hormones like cortisol, which, when left unchecked, can interfere with memory and concentration. Now, let's talk about something many people don't realize. Your brain is still capable of growth, even in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. This process is called neuroplasticity. It simply means that your brain can continue to create new connections, especially when you feed it the right kind of stimulation. And guess what? Music is one of the best tools for that. When you listen to a complex piece of music, especially something like a symphony or a piano sonata, your brain is learning to follow its patterns, anticipate changes, and process a wide range of emotions, all at once. You don't need to be a musician or know anything about composers to get the benefits. All you need is an open mind, a pair of ears, and a bit of curiosity. Start small. Put on a short piece of classical music while you're having your morning coffee or doing the dishes. Listen while you take a walk or unwind in the evening. You might be surprised at how quickly your brain starts to respond. And it's not just about thinking more clearly. Music can help you feel better, too. It lifts your mood, reduces anxiety, and brings a sense of peace that's hard to find in today's noisy world. For many older adults, classical music becomes a quiet companion, offering not just mental clarity but emotional comfort as well. Of course, not every piece will speak to you right away. That's okay. Finding the music that resonates with you is part of the journey. Some people love the dramatic flair of Tchaikovsky, others prefer the gentle flow of Debussy. There's no right or wrong, just what feels good to your ears and calms your mind. So the next time you find yourself feeling foggy or overwhelmed, don't just reach for another cup of coffee or scroll through the news. Instead, try turning on some Bach or Vivaldi. Close your eyes. Let the music wash over you. You might just find your thoughts becoming clearer, your heart rate slowing, and your mind waking up in a way that feels surprisingly young again. And speaking of feeling young, let's keep going. Because once we begin to understand how music affects the brain, we can explore even deeper ways to bring more clarity, energy, and joy into our everyday lives. As you settle into the rhythm of the music and start making it a part of your day, something else begins to happen. Your attention sharpens. You might start noticing little things again, like the birds chirping outside your window or the way the light filters through your curtains in the morning. That's no coincidence. When you regularly listen to classical music, your brain begins to reawaken its natural focus and curiosity. You see, classical music often has no lyrics, which is actually a big advantage when it comes to concentration. Without words getting in the way, your mind is free to wander, imagine, and process information more deeply. That's why so many people find it easier to read, write, or even solve puzzles while listening to classical music. It provides stimulation without distraction. And here's something beautiful. Music can also trigger something called the Mozart effect. You might have heard the term before. It was a popular idea that listening to Mozart could make you smarter. While the early claims were a bit exaggerated, researchers have found that listening to certain types of classical music does lead to short-term boosts in spatial-temporal reasoning. That's a fancy way of saying it helps your brain organize thoughts, patterns, and problem-solving more effectively. So no, it won't suddenly turn us into geniuses, but it can give us a mental edge when we need it most. That edge becomes especially valuable when we're dealing with things like forgetfulness or feeling mentally sluggish. Maybe you've noticed it takes longer to remember phone numbers or names, or maybe you find it harder to multitask than you used to. That's okay, these changes are part of getting older, but they're not set in stone. Just like muscles can be toned and strengthened with the right exercise, your brain responds to stimulation, and music is one of the gentlest yet most powerful ways to do that. And it's not just about the mental stimulation. Music also taps into our emotions. That's a big deal, especially for memory. Have you ever noticed that emotional memories tend to be the strongest? Whether it's a joyful wedding song or a piece of music tied to a moment of loss, those sounds anchor themselves deeply in our minds. This emotional link makes music one of the most powerful triggers for memory recall. In fact, many therapists use music to help patients with dementia reconnect with their past, their identity, and even their loved ones. It's truly moving to see someone who struggled to speak suddenly sing along to a familiar tune. It reminds us that music doesn't just live in our ears, it lives in our hearts, our bones, and deep within our memory. And for those of us who are still lucky enough to remember, it's a tool we can use every day to stay sharp and stay grounded. Let me tell you about another friend of mine, James. He's 68, recently retired, and adjusting to a slower pace of life. He told me he often felt like the quietness of retirement was a little too quiet, and sometimes it made his thoughts drift in all directions. So he started playing classical music during his morning routine, brushing his teeth, making breakfast, feeding the dog. Just a soft soundtrack in the background. After a few weeks, he noticed he felt more energized, more present, even more creative. His daily crossword got easier. His mood improved. He said he even started dreaming again, something he hadn't done in years. What James experienced is something science is beginning to understand more clearly. Music creates a mental environment where your brain can rest, reset, and recharge. It offers structure without pressure, stimulation without overwhelm. And in a world where stress is one of the biggest enemies of brain health, that's no small thing. Now let's take it one step further. If you want to really maximize the benefits of music for your brain, don't just listen to it, interact with it. Hum along. Tap your foot. Conduct the orchestra with your hands, even if it's just you alone in your kitchen. When you move with music, your brain engages even more. You're activating your motor cortex, your memory centers, and your emotional pathways all at once. It's like turning on a light in every room of the house, not just one. And if you feel up for it, Consider learning a simple instrument or revisiting one you used to play. It could be a keyboard, a harmonica, or even just a set of hand drums. Learning music, even at a basic level, has been shown to dramatically improve brain function in older adults. It's not about performing or being perfect. It's about engaging your brain in a joyful, meaningful activity that keeps those neurons firing. But even if you never pick up an instrument, don't worry. The listening alone is still incredibly powerful. The key is consistency. Just like watering a plant a little bit every day keeps it alive, feeding your brain with music regularly helps it grow, adapt, and stay alert. A few minutes a day is all it takes to start noticing a difference. So tomorrow, when you wake up and pour that first cup of tea or coffee, try playing a little Chopin or Schubert. Let it fill the room. Let it fill your thoughts. Give your brain a gentle nudge and say, "Let's get moving." Because every time you press play, you're doing something good for your memory, your focus, and your mood. And as we begin to weave music more deeply into our daily routines, we start to feel something that's hard to put into words, but you'll know it when it comes. A sense of being more alive, more connected, more awake. That's the magic of music. Not the loud, fast kind that overwhelms you, but the steady, beautiful rhythms that meet you right where you are and lift you up, one note at a time. One of the most comforting things about music is that it doesn't judge you. It doesn't care how old you are, what you've forgotten, or how many times you've hit replay. It simply meets you where you are and invites you to be present. That's something truly special, especially at a time in life when everything seems to be changing. Our pace, our roles, even our bodies. Music offers something stable, something familiar, something that stirs the soul without asking too much in return. And you don't have to wait for the right moment to enjoy it. There's no need for a quiet room or fancy speakers. Let it play softly in the background as you fold laundry, prepare a meal, or even sit outside with your thoughts. Classical music isn't about drama or noise. It's about creating space. Space in your mind, space in your heart, and space in your life to simply be. You might start to notice something subtle yet powerful happening. That usual mental fog that creeps in during the afternoon, it clears just a little faster. The sense of time slipping by too quickly, it begins to slow down. Music has a way of grounding you in the moment, making each second feel more alive, more deliberate, more yours. And when it comes to memory, it's not just about recall, it's also about connection. When you hear a piece that reminds you of something, your wedding day, a road trip, the scent of your grandmother's kitchen, it's more than a flashback. It's a reconnection with who you are, where you've been, and what you've lived through. And that sense of connection is powerful medicine for the brain. That's why music is often used in memory care for people with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Even when speech is difficult or recognition fades, a familiar melody can open a doorway. It reaches into the deepest corners of the mind and brings forth something real, something tender, something still untouched by time. And if music can do that for someone in the late stages of memory loss, imagine what it can do for you right now, simply by making it a part of your everyday life. It's never too late to create a music habit. In fact, starting later in life might actually be better, because you now have the time, the wisdom, and the patience to really appreciate it. You're not rushing around like in your younger years. You can let a piece of music unfold slowly. You can feel the beauty in the pauses, not just the notes. That kind of listening isn't just good for your brain, it's good for your soul. And if you live alone, as many people do later in life, music can be a comforting companion. It fills the quiet spaces with something warm and alive. It reminds you that even when the house is still, you're not alone. There's a world of emotion, creativity, and connection right there in every note. And in some small but meaningful way, it brings joy back into the everyday routine. You might even find that music inspires you in unexpected ways. Maybe you'll feel the urge to write again, or paint, or pick up a hobby you once loved. Maybe you'll move your body more, swaying gently, tapping your fingers, letting your breath fall into rhythm with a melody. These little moments of engagement are exactly what keep the brain flexible, alert, and emotionally fulfilled. And let's not forget the power of music to bring people together. Sharing a favorite song with a friend or grandchild can spark stories, laughter, and connection across generations. You might introduce them to a piece that shaped your youth, and in doing so, pass on a memory that lives on in someone else. That's the gift of music. It doesn't just support your brain, it supports your legacy. So as you go about your day, I encourage you to think of classical music not as background noise, but as brain food, soul food, and maybe even a gentle daily ritual, like lighting a candle or watering a plant. It doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. A soft cello sonata, a piano waltz, or a gentle string quartet can work wonders, quietly tuning your mind and calming your heart. And here's the best part, there's no wrong way to begin. Just pick a piece that speaks to you, sit with it, and see what it stirs. Maybe it will make you feel calm. Maybe it will make you feel inspired. Or maybe, just maybe, it will bring back a memory you didn't even know was still there, waiting to be heard. So remember this, your brain is still growing, your heart is still learning, and your life, no matter your age, is still filled with music waiting to be played. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Have you had a moment where music brought back a memory or lifted your mood? Share your story in the comments. I truly enjoy reading every one. And if this video helped you or gave you something to think about, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps more people find this kind of content. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got so many more uplifting, practical, and heartwarming topics coming your way. Because life after 60 isn't the end of the story, it's a beautiful, rich new chapter. And sometimes, all it takes to unlock it is pressing play. Here's to living your best life, with a song in your heart and clarity in your mind, at any age.